with her later. So hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dr. Ji-Yoon Lee. I'm a licensed psychologist and outreach coordinator at the University of Akron Counseling and Testing Center. This is my fourth year work over there, and I complete my pre-doctoral internship at Purdue University Counseling and Psychological Services, and I completed my postdoc at James Madison University Counseling Center. I am the moderator of this webinar tonight, so I am very pleased and welcome all of you to this webinar on job search interview tips for practitioner positions in United States. So this webinar is designed to discuss job search tips and interview process and negotiating tips for international psychologists in training who are seeking for international clinical-oriented positions in the United States, such as clinical postdocs and staff psychologist positions at university counseling centers or other clinical settings. So this is sponsored by the American Psychological Association, like Division 17, International Section. So International Mentoring and Orientation Committee, IMOC, especially like Professional Development Subcommittee. So I have special thanks to Dr. Shazmin Dwarla, IMOC Chair for support, and Joyce Zhang and Anil for technical support for this webinar. So we have, as advertised, we have three panels today who have work and job search experience and or completed internship at university counseling center settings and eager to share their job search experience and wisdom with you. So Dr. Chun Chong Choi is here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, so hi everyone. I am Chun Chong Choi. I am a clinical faculty at the Counseling and Wellness Center at University of Florida. I am the training coordinator as well as the U.S. International Initiative Team Coordinator. And I do have some experience in recruiting staff as well as interns and practicum students. So I'll share some of my experience today.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Jingqing Liu is here? Yeah, she's not here yet. She's a senior staff psychologist and practicum coordinator of University of Oregon Counseling and Testing Center. I hope she can join us later. And Dr. Elena Yakunina is here.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So my name is Elena Yakunina, and I'm a staff psychologist at the University of Buffalo Counseling Services. And I also have a specialty working with international students and doing international student outreach. I completed my internship at Ball State University about 4.5 years ago. And so I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah. Thank you, Elena. And we advertise Dr. Vivi Hua, who is clinical director at NY STAR program, but she's not available to join this webinar today, so I apologize that. So if you, this webinar is being recorded, so will be posted in our IMOC Facebook webpage, and so please mute your microphone when not speaking for quality of sound. So if you have any questions, please post your questions on the IMOC Facebook webpage during this webinar, or email me at jelee3@uakron.edu. So I'm going to respond to your question during the webinar and afterwards. So here, if there are any kind of audience who would like to introduce themselves, I mean, you can do it, and I'd like to hear from you too. Any audience? Do we have any audience? Okay, so let's get started. So I asked to Dr. Choi, Dr. Chanchong Choi, for the first 5-10 minutes about the job search tips 101 for international psychologists-in-training. So I'd like to hear from Chanchong about job search tips 101 before we answer to some questions. We have 6 questions on our plate. And if any questions throughout the Facebook page or any email I would receive, I would like to respond that to that question. So, So, Chanchong.
Yes. Should I go ahead? Okay. All right. I'll join in. So just briefly, I'll share some of the experience and my understanding of this job search process. And it's definitely not the absolute correct way of doing it. It's just my way of doing it and my understanding of it. I do believe that job search starts way before job search. If you need a job and then start learning about job search, it's not too late. But if you prepare ahead of time, that's even better. And by that I mean if you have been joining certain professional organizations such as APA Division 17, and if you do some volunteer work there, you get to connect with a group of people. And those individuals and professionals could be your support when you needed the job. So what this means is that we need to utilize networking strategy in terms of job search, especially for international students, because you don't have the resource available to you readily compared to the domestic students. Look around you, your advisor, the faculty at the department, and usually when you're looking for a job, it means that you are at your internship. So look for the supervisors that you feel comfortable with and connect with. One person that's very important in this process is your internship TD, the training director. He or she could guide you through this process. So we all know that during this year of job search, it's all very stressful, and everyone involved in your work settings or your training settings, they want you to find a job. There's no question about it because it's beneficial for everyone, right? So where do you look for jobs? There's postdoc options or the staff psychologist positions. So where do you look for that? And by that, I feel like I can break it into settings, different settings. So I work at the college counseling center, so I'm most familiar with it, and I can share my experience in that area. But if you're thinking about clinical work, in addition to counseling centers, there's also hospitals, there's community mental health, and even private practice. And but with the international status, it's probably harder for you to create a private practice because you need the sponsorship. So among those settings, where do you find those job openings? Within the college counseling center, there's the websites that you can go to. Like, for example, the Division 17 has the job ad in their newsletter, in their webpage. Division 29, the practice division, they also have some job search, job ad in there as well. And if you are not with the APA, with the ACA, the American Counselor Association, you could also look for their advertisements in their webpage as well. But one thing, if you're looking for the jobs at the College Counseling Center, there's one easy way to find this, all you need to do is Google College Counseling Center and this website, universitycounselingjobs.com. There are most of the counseling jobs are posted there. And if you, like what I mentioned before, that if you're connected with the individuals that has potential of knowing about certain jobs, like your advisors, they may refer those job availability for you too. During the job season, there's a lot of emails sent out about job opportunities, and especially if you're looking for the clinical jobs, typically they don't come out until January, February, through June, July. So for some of our interns, at times they may find it anxious because for the academic positions, you start like in October, and some of them may have already found a job by December. But for counseling centers and a lot of other clinical positions, they don't start that early, and they may start later. So if you're in that position, don't be panicked about this as well. In terms of the interviewing process, there's a few things that may be worth mentioning. One is that in your applications, you need to send in the application materials. You probably get a really good practice when you're applying for the internship to use those skills that you already possess. One thing that I would like to remind you is that when you are asking for recommendation letters, don't just ask people that you feel like comfortable and ask a recommendation letter. Try to use the word strong recommendation letter. See if they are willing to write you a strong recommendation letter, because when you emphasize that, the individuals may attend to your needs in a much better way. In the recommendation letter, put in the kind of thing that you would like to highlight for the writers. And I think that's very important. This is like preparation for the to receive a potential interview. You only get that one shot when people read your application materials. You only get very brief, short time chance of presenting yourself in the best you can be. So you want to make sure that you put forth the strongest application materials that you can create or produce. During the interviewing process, there's also involves phone interview, and then it's the on-site interview. So during the phone interview, you also need to prepare, know your site, the place that you apply really well. One of the questions that typically asked during the phone interview or on-site interview is that what's your strength? What's your area of growth? You need to know both. This is not the time for you to be humble, but you also need to be aware of what you can and cannot do, and figure a way to make your selling pitch for that. And also during the on-site interview, there are that means you are very well qualified. You passed that phone interview, and you are one of the very few that are invited to the on-site interview, because they have to pay for this trip, and so typically the centers or the hiring agency, they choose very carefully. If you are applying for smaller settings, some community mental health, for example, they may not invite you for an on-site if you are so far away. They may, even if they invite you, they may not be able to reimburse those costs, and that's fine. Sometimes you can ask if you can do a Skype interview. There's pros and cons of doing that, of course. but know what you can do and what you're willing to do in that process is important. For the on-site interview, it typically, if they have one position opening, typically they may invite 2 or 3 individuals to be interviewed. So this pool is you have a very good chance of being hired. And usually it involves a couple of days with usually at least 1 full-day interview. The interview starts the moment that they pick you up at the airport. So be professional throughout this whole process. Not that you have to be so vigilant about everything, but just being yourself and being professional and considerate in the whole process. Be mindful about the people that you were interviewed or have contact with, even during lunch. Sometimes you may be asked to meet with trainees or support staff. You may not be as guarded in that process because you may not think that they could contribute much in terms of deciding whether to hire you or not, and that could be very wrong because, for example, in our center, we do invite everyone to contribute, and everyone has their valid vote in this process, including our trainees. Their vote is as good as our senior staff. So be mindful about all these minor things about interviewing process. During the interview, on-site interview, typically you may interview from trainees, staff, future colleagues, to the big boss. Sometimes it could mean it's the provost or the vice president for student affairs. Depends on the size or how the structure of your the counseling center or the agency that you're working with. So be mindful about the authority that you are going to meet with. If you're like me, the Asian, who are so afraid of talking to authority, well, be comfortable with it as well. Practice. This is something that you also want to do, is to practice to talk to people, meet with people, with your friends before you go on-site interview. The attires, you need to be professional. Business casual is the rule of thumb of going about how you dress. You don't need to be too fancy about it, but business casual is good enough. Now, know the sites. I couldn't emphasize this enough, that know about what center that or what agency that you're applying for, know about their services, know about the job requirements, and prior going to the sites, the on-site interview. If you know of people within the center, check with them what exactly the culture is like. When you're on site, ask them directly, what's the culture like? What's the work ethic? What are they expecting of you? So being open about it, but also ask directly about what you need from those sites. If they want to work with you, and if they want to invite you to the site to work with them, that will be the next step, right? The next step is to negotiate. So, and I think a lot of time this is the area that international students or international scholars may fall short on, is how do we negotiate? I just came out from graduate school. How do I negotiate? Do I even have a negotiation power in this process? And I can definitely tell you that you do have the power. You do have the negotiation power in this process. And that's the good news, but the bad news is this is probably the only chance for the next few years in terms of negotiation. Because once you accept the terms, once you're in it, gaining any other benefit is so difficult. So think about this. This may be a good chance for you to ask for the kind of terms, the kind of salary that you want. And speaking of salary, you may need to do some research ahead of time. So research the salary in general across the nation, and then be specific about the area. If you are going to a public school, for example, all the salary are public. So all you need to do is just Google, and you'll be able to find the salary for the center. So find those information, get yourself ready, and if you don't know where to find this information, ask the training director. They typically know where to find those information for you. And another tip is that if it's a private school and if you don't know where to find it, a good place is the library, the librarian in that school. They typically are able to direct you where to find those information. So what about the bargaining power? How do you bargain? So once you find out the salary, you can always make a request. Now, because you just got out from the graduate school, you may not have much room to negotiate, but you do have some rooms. There's something about this process that you could request the salary that sometimes can be higher than the people that already work there. This is the trend in the world in the world of work. The people that work there for so long, their salary may not be as high as a new hire. That's true for many places. So you don't need to feel awkward about asking for more because that's what you need. And the worst is that they may say no. As long as you don't make it as a condition that if you don't give me this much, I will not come, then you always have that negotiation room for that. You could also make a gentle request that I wish that I could have this because here are the reasons, and I need to have this much of financial support because of these reasons. You can always make that request in a gentle way. And so it's not just the salary that you can negotiate. There's also other terms. For example, if you're not licensed, most of you probably are not, when you just fresh out of graduate school, you could ask for the testing materials, EPPP testing materials, even the licensure, the cost of it. So you can always negotiate those terms. But just keep in mind that in the process of negotiation, you do have that power. Don't be shy in that. When a site offer you a position, that means they want you. They will not change their mind just because you make a request. So I guess that's the majority of the negotiation that I know of, a little bit actually. The last thing that I would like to share is the waiting period. This is also could be part of the negotiation as well. So once you, at the end of the exit interview, you can always ask the director or the person with the hiring power, when should you expect to hear from them? And they typically are able to give you a time. If they're still interviewing people, they'll let you know how many they are bringing in for interview. They'll also let you know too. So feel free to ask. Those are valid questions. And so they typically will let you know like a period of time that you should wait. And once they offer you the position, you could also ask for how much time do I have? This is fresh. This is new for me. I'm so excited. I need some time to think about it. I cannot reply to anything about your offer. I really like it. Thank you, but give me some time. So you can always negotiate. Like, can I have a week? Gosh, this is so hard for me to decide. Can I have 2 weeks? So all of these, the longest time that I've heard was a month of waiting in the clinical field. That's rare. Usually a week is the typical duration or wait time for you to go back and confirm or deny either way with the hiring agency. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chum Chong. You overviewed very well about general job search information in very detail, I think. And I'd like to add one thing that networking is very important, because asking for the reference and supporting the applicant for the position is also important. But and this job advertisement is going through the network, I guess. not only website, universitycounselingcenterjobs.com also advertise it, and kind of it overlaps, or sometimes AUCCCD, right, that training director, the director association, University Counseling Center especially, or ACCTA, the Training Director Association, also running the advertisement. So there is an overlap, and so can hear more from like training director sites or director sites. So it is also open for public.
Now that you mentioned it, there's something that I just come across my mind. If I could add just a little bit. If you are looking for community mental health in a local area, what I used to do, and I was successful in finding that job, was I even before they send their advertisement out, I just went there and asked them if they could take my CV, and if they have job opening, can they contact me? So I just go to because of the geographical location, I just went and just gave all the CV to all the agencies in the 30 miles radius, and so locally you can also do it that way. And I think one thing that my boss back then told me was that what she appreciated of me was the active way of searching for what I need. They actually like to see that side of you, that you want it, you're motivated to do something, and that could be an added point for you in terms of job search. And even before the job are even posted, as an international student, though, once you get the job in an informal way, the agencies would still have to post the job ad in a formal way, but that's another story.
Right. Yeah. And there are another listserv. There are many listserv, like Division 17, Division 17 International Section, and also Division 45 is the very, well or kind of popular to advertise the job, and not only for the University Counseling Center staff positions, also like faculty jobs or higher ed. The listserv is very kind of well advertised, throughout the Division 45. I noticed that. So there's another way to do that. And one more thing is the waiting time. It is Chun Chong made a very good point, and because it is very popular season to kind of doing the job searching, like throughout October-ish, like December-ish, or January, February, and many postdoc positions are open during the time period. So many people are kind of turning down their offers or something like. It's very critical period for the job searching, especially at the University Counseling Center positions. So it is it's challenging. So which one should I get or turn down, kind of things for the offer. So waiting period is very important, critical issue. So yeah, I really appreciate Chun Chong. And anything you want to add, Elena? I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
One thing that I was going to add in terms of kind of familiarizing yourself with the job search process, I actually started looking at job postings a couple of years before I was ready to apply for jobs, because I wanted to get a sense of what kind of positions are out there, what are types of experiences and qualifications that are highly desirable. And after reading, positions for a while, you start noticing some themes or topics that kind of come up regularly. So that gave me ideas of, while I was still a practicum student, of what kind of experiences to seek out. and what kind of specialty areas or strong areas to try to develop so that I can market myself better. So that kind of helped me think in more strategic way about, preparing myself for the job search way ahead of time. So I don't think it's ever too early to start looking and just getting good ideas.
That's a really, really good point, Elena. I really like that. Can I also add one small piece into what Elena just shared? I think it's a great idea that you search a couple of years ahead of time and being able to find a hole in yourself when you look at the CV and what's lacking what's lacking in terms of matching with the job market. Yet at the same time, this is just my own experience again, that if you have something that you have passion for, you could also create that as well. The job market may not be as ready as you wish for, but if you see the market and you see the passion for it, you could create something. So 12 years ago, I was interested in working with the international student population. And in a few of my job talks, because at the beginning I could not speak any about my interest in that area. I was so willing to just find a job, just match with the site, whatever they request. And to the end, closer to the end of my interviews, I figured maybe I could chime in with some ideas. I can sell some of the ideas of what I can do for a certain place. So in my job talk, I created some of the things that I do, like I still do it today, which is for the international student population and why they need the service and so forth. And they accept it and they hire me. So I feel like if you have certain passion and you see there's a market for that, convince them, do your research, show them that that's what's needed, and sometimes they could be pretty open about it.
Yeah, I think the Chang's point is very excellent. And I have been doing or looking at the job postings or job searching for the past 4 or 5 years, I guess. And there is a trend. So because from mid-2000 or 2010-ish, there are many international students influx from other countries. So institutions are focused on more kind of clinicians are passionate about or working with international student population. They hire open the new position and they hire someone who has the background who can serve the international student population or underserved populations. So especially working with African American students or students of color or specific kind of special issues. So it is kind of evolving, I guess. So it's not now there are many institutions are looking for international students who can work with or competencies to work with the international student populations, and now it's more their intersectionality is very important of their competencies, I guess, to work with more underserved populations. And so, I mean, kind of as an international clinicians, our trajectories of career development is different from domestic clinicians or other clinicians. So, I mean, we do not have that experience, and then we can show our vision about how we want to do with our, followed by our passion. Yeah, so I think it's an excellent point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I also think that I agree with Chang because if you are really passionate about something, that comes across, and you're more convincing, and people can feel your excitement and your motivation. So, and when I was talking about tailoring yourself for the market, I never believed that you should try to shape yourself in something that doesn't feel true to who you are. So I absolutely agree. It's also very important to kind of have a strong sense of what is your identity and what, is meaningful for you in your career. What I ended up doing is I really looked at that and also picked and choose from what was important in the job market and integrated those pieces. But these were the things that I picked and chose were things that I also felt that I could relate to. So I would never advise anyone to change who they are for the sake of winning a job, because it's not going to work in the long run.
Right. That's an excellent point. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Jing Qing actually emailed me. She can join the call. So let's see. She can join it. Yeah. So, okay. So, if you're ready to go to, move on to the answering question part. Okay. So, first question is, are there any suggestions on applying for the clinical postdoc first or applying directly for the full-time position? It is a good idea to apply to postdocs after my internship, or should I apply for full-time positions instead? Is there any thoughts?
I do have pretty strong opinion about this, but this is very opinion.
Okay.
As an international student, it's very, very difficult when you are working as a postdoc. My concern is that you only have that OPT for 12 months, and once you use it up for a postdoc, then you are doomed. There's no wiggle rooms to find the formal position, and there is a little bit of risk in that process, I feel like. But if you go directly to look for staff positions, I feel like it's your advantage in terms of the visa consideration. Because if it doesn't work, you still have a chance to look for something else, especially if you're working in a smaller settings. Then you need to have that backup plan for you. Plus, it saves you a lot of hassles. Like this year, if you look for a job and then as a postdoc position, then next year you continue to look for a job, which means 3 years in a row you're looking for a job. That's very tiresome. And there isn't really that much of a difference in terms of your ability to serve as a staff. As a clinical staff, I feel like once you get out of the internship, you are very qualified. What you need is experience to continue to be shaped in your job setting. That's true. But I feel like you need to believe that you could find a full-time position. That's my take.
Yeah. That is a good point, and there's definitely cons about kind of using up the OPT and looking for H-1B. If someone is pursuing or kind of somehow going to the postdoc route and go to also searching for the full-time position next. And there is some kind of challenges over there, because there is a tricky time frame to obtain the OPT or, work authorization, and also moving on to the full-time position, because whether or not is a right away they can start their job with H-1B or not. It is very critical kind of issues because of based upon the visa sponsorship. But if someone can go there, I'm talking to you all based upon my experience. I got a postdoc position and then went to the full time. So definitely it is tricky to switch or having a transition between like OPT to H-1B and getting a sponsorship. But the one pros, and there are many pros, because if you are going to staff positions right away, and it is less kind of intense work, it takes kind of, if you go to the postdoc, clinical postdoc, it takes less time, or you can finish up like taking EPPP or getting a licensure within that year, I believe. Yeah.
Can I interrupt? Sorry.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
As a postdoc, I believe there are, like, they have, if it's APA postdoc, there's quite a rigorous plan for training. And so you go through that training, that's a lot of work already. And then if it's not APA postdoc, it depends on the agency. And so from my experience, that why would an agency want to hire a postdoc? One is probably because they can save them some money in that process. And two, postdocs usually fresh out from school, they could work they could work in many ways, and so they're hard worker. So my feeling about postdoc is you actually work and spend more time at work than allowing you compared to being a senior staff, being a new hire the first year, that the agency want to support you to get your licensure, to get your license. And so the kind of support I feel like for the senior staff is actually more in terms of time. But it could be different in different settings, of course. That's what I observe in my agency, but not, again, like your experience is also true too. So it depends.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Elena?
I would say when I was applying for jobs, I was having the same dilemma. And when I talked to my supervisors at the time, they both very strongly encouraged me to apply for positions straight, very much for similar reasons than Chung Choi mentioned. And I was, a little fearful to do that because I wasn't sure if I was ready for positions. And the challenge is that a lot of postdocs come before most staff positions become available. So you cannot apply to both. And, if you don't get a staff position, then lean back on a postdoc. That's less common. But ultimately, I decided to just take the risk. And I'm very grateful that I did because, I feel just having to go to the stress of applying again and being so uncertain for another year about my situation would have just been too difficult. Plus, having to move literally most likely 3 times in 3 years, it's a lot of emotional stress, especially as an international student. So, and I do believe personally that as long as you feel that your internship program was strong and the training that you received was strong and you had opportunities to showcase your skills, maybe outreach that you're involved in or being involved in group or developing some specialty area of interest to you, you can really market yourself successfully. And I don't think that a postdoc is necessary.
Right.
Yeah, I want to echo what Elena just shared about making sure that you have some form of specialties. Yes, we are all generalists, but if you look at the job market, they all ask for something specialized, whether it's alcohol treatment testing, international special populations, or something. If you highlight your mindfulness training, anything that could get you attracted to certain sites and be very marketable. So yeah, I totally support what Elaine just shared about. Yeah, go for it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So So next question, we can move on. So how do I assess whether my qualifications are a good fit for a job position? So anyone else want to start?
I feel like, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Santa.
No. I feel like I jumped in so fast. So Elena, go ahead.
No, you have such wonderful advice. I'm almost feel like I have to take notes because you have really great points that you're making.
You're so sweet, Elena. I think you know a lot. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. And when I was applying, I kind of assessed my strengths, and I also reflected a little bit on what are my specialty areas. So for me, it was international students, doing outreach because I had done a lot of outreach at my internship. Also, I had gotten a chance to supervise a lot of my internships, so I was also going to highlight my supervision experience and interest in mindfulness. So I really outlined in my mind what are my core identities and core strengths, and then I would read the job postings with that in mind to see areas of fit, because I feel that just as in terms of internship applications, fit is very important. I think it's the same with job search. And I think it's better to apply to fewer positions that you're very well matched for than to apply very widely and spread yourself thin, but apply to positions that you're not really a strong fit for. So I would really kind of reflect on my identity and my strengths, my goals, and look for positions that were matching that well. And one of the issues that I ran into is I would read sometimes a job position that it would require or prefer at least people bringing at least 3 or 4 different specialties, like maybe eating disorders, athletes, trauma, and international and diversity pieces. So initially I was like, do I have to have all of these things? And so I talked to people and they said, no, this is kind of like, in the perfect world, they would want all of this, but they're not expecting all of this, especially in one person. So as long as you have some overlap with these areas, you're a potential candidate for them. So that was also reassuring for me, and I would try to apply for positions that I felt that there was a strong fit and a strong overlap between my identity and my strengths and what they were looking for.
I really like your approach about coming from within. Assess your own identity, what you need, what you want. I think that works really well for me as well. One thing that I want to add is, in addition to looking at the job ad, you could call the center and talk to the hiring chair to know about exactly what they are looking for. Sometimes they may be limited to what they can write in the job ad. And also, if you know someone in the center, you could also have a feel about exactly what the center is looking for. Do they really want someone to specialize in eating disorder, for example? And in what way that they would? How bad do they want this? Maybe it's just casually they think that this would be a good idea, or maybe they really want this specialty. So knowing them. Knowing yourself and then knowing them, that could allow yourself a good chance of finding that good fit. Elena had a great point about don't stretch yourself too thin. You probably would know it when it's a good fit, because the more that you read it, the more information that you find out about the site, the more that you feel like this is for me, then that will be a good fit. So trust your intuition in that process as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Santoy, and I also agree with the idea of going and checking the website. For me, it was important because I had an interest in outreach, especially for international students. It was important for me to go to the website and see if they're doing any of that work, what areas of outreach they're emphasizing. So it gave me a good idea, almost like the culture of the center and the values of the center, to some of the outreach programs that they're posting about or the groups that they're running. And that also gave me an idea of fit, like, did I see myself fitting in this place? Were there some shared values? or share goals, how the organization think about the work of the center and what I wanted to do as a professional. So I absolutely agree about researching the positions more than just the job posting, but going on the website, or even if you know people, especially counseling centers, university counseling centers are a really tight-knit community. So you could ask people who maybe have had interactions with staff or have, at your own internship site, for example, and they can maybe give you some additional information that you cannot get elsewhere.
Yeah. All good points. And I would like to add one more thing is like knowing about the population or institution. There are University of Florida, like Ohio State, or University of Buffalo, or other Big Ten schools. They have a lot of international student populations and also underserved populations, and other smaller colleges or may have different, atmosphere or, nature of the population. So, or at University of Akron, we have, non-traditional students or commuters. It's more urban university, we call. So knowing about the population of the institution would be very helpful to who's going to be the target for example, like outreach activities or groups or other things. Yeah. Great point. Yep. So go on to let me double check with Jing Qing is here. Yeah, she didn't join us. Okay. So number 3, how do I write my cover letter so that I highlight my strengths and assets? So who you want to start?
Elena, I guess we'll take turns. I'll go for this one. So highlight your cover letter. I feel like how do you highlight it is to know, again, we'll talk about your, look within, look for your identity, look for what's your strength, what's something that you have done. So in the cover letter, you highlight the things that has proof, meaning that if you say that you enjoy working with international students, then you need to have proof of experience working with that, not just by I wanted to, but I have done something in that area. So you can highlight those areas. So that's how you match with the position as well. So if the position were looking for international students, looking for outreach, and so if you could highlight those outreach experiences, in addition to that, you could would highlight some consultation work that you do, because you need to think about stretch something in there that may be related to the job position. It may be something that they may not write in there, but it could be of interest in that. So outreach and consultation go hand in hand. So if you do well in those in outreach, you probably are also doing well in consultation, and so you highlight those as an example. So I feel like if you highlight things that they need in the cover letter, as well as things that you want in the cover letter, that should be good enough. That should be a strong asset. But do comes in with the related experiences, not just by saying something that I'm really interested in this because I have this, I'm an international student, I have this background, I automatically know about this. No, you do highlight with certain work that you do. Right. That's all I have.
I absolutely agree. Actually, one thing that I did is for each job posting, when I was writing the cover letter, I would print it and have it in front of me and highlight the areas of what was important for them. And I would make sure that I addressed that in the cover letter itself. I found that the cover letters are very important because that's where you're communicating the fit. And you're also communicating, in some ways, your excitement, your passion, and also your identity. Who are you? You know, what have you accomplished? Where do you want to go? Why this place is a good fit? So I was kind of go with the categories or the areas that they were looking for, and I would integrate that with my strengths so that I could clearly match what they wanted, what they valued with what I've done, or how I fit in, or what I was bringing as skills. And I think that helped me write very clear cover letters, and also helped me make sure I don't forget something important. And I also, prior to the phone interviews, I will go back to my cover letters and again to the job posting with the highlighted pieces and make sure that during the interview I would specifically speak to those points. Even if they didn't explicitly ask a question about any of those areas, I would find a way to, obviously it's relevant, so I wouldn't just mention it all out of nowhere, but I would try to integrate all of these pieces in the interview, again, to communicate that fit.
Yeah, it's all good points. And, yeah, I'd like to add one thing that, when someone is writing a cover letter for the pre-doctoral internship, which is different from job or postdoc, is the perspective is different, how they can grow or learn about it. But as independent practitioners, or, how to contribute their, strength and their passion or their asset to the center or to the institution, I think that will be the great point to highlight all throughout the cover letter. Anyone want to add anything? Or yes, and then let's move on to number 4. And how should I prepare for phone or in-person job interviews? Yeah, Chang touched it over the overview. So anything Elena want to highlight it, or Chang also can talk too.
This is Elena. I found that one of the most helpful things was talking to my supervisors and getting a list of questions that are commonly asked at interviews and preparing those ahead of time. I really took time to reflect on those questions and what would my answers be. And that gave me more clarity when I was responding, to help me feel more confident. And the other piece I also feel is very important is thoroughly researching the slides, and not just the center, but the university itself and other departments that you might be working with. That was particularly important for me because I was, again, really interested in outreach. So I knew that in my role I would need to collaborate with other departments. And my area of interest was working with international students. So I actually went and searched other departments at the university that were doing work with international students, and I was finding out about their programs. And that actually also turned out to be very helpful for the in-person interviews, because one portion of the interview involved a meeting with the stakeholders. So these would be other staff from departments outside of the center who I would be collaborating with or working with closely, like, for example, the director of the International Student Scholar Services or the Intercultural and Diversity Center director. So the fact that I was familiar with the work that they were doing really helped me have a very meaningful and easy conversation with them during the interview itself. And the same goes about researching the site, the agency. I researched their training program and what were the values and what was emphasized in the training programs and the outreach and the group program. So that gave me a big overview. And it also helped me feel more excited about the agency and about meeting the staff, because by researching them, I already found that I'm establishing a connection and a relationship with them, and I would get intrigued by their work. So when I was at the interview, I was genuinely interested in talking to them and finding more about this program that they're implementing, and that really helped create rapport and connection. And I think that's also very important during the interview to help you build that positive connection with the staff, but also to help you manage your own anxiety. Because if you feel connected and you feel interested and engaged, you're less likely to feel anxious or stressed during the process, or that stress will be more managed.
Yeah.
Great point, Elena. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Chong.
Oh, okay. I completely agree with Elena. What you said was so well prepared for the job interview. I feel like just adding a little bit more. We have a very similar approach when I look for a job. I think I did a lot of job digging into the university setting, the center. From the data search point of view, I actually did went in and find out how many international students that they have, and what kind of service that they provide. And at the time, there's zero service that they provide for international students. So I was able to work with when I was doing an interview. When I met with the director at the international center, she was so excited that I know about the population, that I wanted to serve that they needed and wanted for so long. And so finding out those information are really the key for that. And as far as on-site interview with the staff there are quite a bit staff, and as an international student, you may not be readily remember all the names from when you are on-site. So if you could prepare yourself, like go through the roster, because the names are all there, most of them at least, unless they are the new hire. So get kind of familiar with the names, and by the time that you get there, because most sites will describe what their specialties, and you may be able to match some of them. And when you remember those things, they will be very impressive with you. And that's what the connection is about. You kind of connect with certain people on a personal, deeper level that way. So doing some prior preparation is very helpful. And after the interview, in the past, in my era, I sent in the thank you card. But now you can just do the email to thank individual for that. Just a little bit, you don't want to overdo this, but thank the individual taking time to interview you. I feel like that's a good way to connect as well.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, and that remind them about you or your
right.
Your name. And yeah, I mean, it is an old-fashioned, but I love to kind of see the thank you card actually on hand. And we sometimes we do see those thank you card in circulation. That feels different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that may feeling different, even though it's an old-fashioned. But and also I'd like to highlight the relationship with the stakeholder when. Yeah, especially get offered. If someone get offered on-site interview, they can see. So, what is the true kind of cultural relationship with counseling center or other stakeholders, like Office of Dean of Students or Multicultural Development Center or International Office or Student Affairs or Health Centers and other stakeholders. It is important to know about because it's a future kind of collaborator or, it's a closely working together. So it's a very kind of important to know about the culture itself of the institution or the center, I guess. Yeah. So all excellent point. And so move on to the next question. It's on number 5. So how and when should we bring up the topic of the visa sponsorship? It's a very important issue now, right?
Yeah, that's a very practical question,
right.
And especially during this political atmosphere, that is that's difficult to deal with in this. In my experience, when I was doing the on-site interview, I raised in my exit interview with the director, I mentioned that to the director about I need this sponsorship, and see how they're open to it. Sometimes I may get a question, if I recall right, I may get a question at the end of a phone interview and ask if I need visa sponsorship, something like that. So if they ask, you have to respond. But if they don't ask, I'll wait till the end of the on-site interview. Ideally, if they are so fine with it until they offer, then you definitely want to make that request when they offer the position. You don't want to wait beyond that.
So any other opinion? Yeah.
I completely agree. I remember being very anxious about, having that conversation, and I talked to my supervisors ahead of time about it, my internship supervisors, because I was afraid that if agencies find out that they need to sponsor me, that, they wouldn't want to go to the hassle, and that, it will make it harder for me to find a job. But my supervisors really highlighted that it's better to be open about it. And they also made the point that I probably don't want to work at a position where, or that agency where being international is seen as a burden. So they felt that it's better to, put it on the table and have open communication about that. And just like Chung Choi, they suggested to bring it up at the end of the in-person interview. Typically, there is a meeting with the director at the very end of the interview. That oftentimes is the last meeting. And it can be an opportunity to ask any, final questions or just wrap up the interview. And that's when I was advised to bring that up. I agree with Chung Choi that I wouldn't bring that at the phone interview because still you don't have a lot of leverage at that point yet. But I think that once you've been on site and once that they have met you and they've experienced, interacting with you and seen you presenting, you have more of a rapport and relationship with them. They have more to base their, assessment of how you fit or where you stand. So that's a good time to really put it on the table, and I would say specifically discussing it with the director. One thing that was also helpful for me is that for many positions that are actually specifically looking for an international student specialist, I don't want to overgeneralize that, but they typically, at least to some extent, are aware that visa sponsorship may be an issue. Or based on my experience, when I brought these conversations up and I had applied to kind of positions, the directors were not surprised about this, and they were supportive. And I do think that if the director or the center is really looking for someone to bring that expertise, they value that, and they're more committed to offer sponsorship. Of course, there are exceptions. There may be centers that are not familiar with the process, and they may say, "Oh, yeah, we'll sponsor you," and then they actually don't know. There could be a lot of complications, but I would say the best thing is to have a conversation about it at the end of the in-person interview, and at least at that point you'll get a sense of what is their stance on that, and if that would be an issue. In my case, it actually was not an issue, and the director that I did speak to said, I understand that, and I'm familiar with that, and I wouldn't be searching for a specialist in this area if I wasn't familiar with that, and that was an issue for me.
Yeah, just adding one more, a little bit point here is that you could also get familiar yourself with the H-1B process, and sometimes you could ease the anxiety of the director about sponsorship because you are familiar with that, and and you could say with confidence how this being a process and how the little thing that they can do to support you to go through this. With your familiarity, it helps in that process. And that was true for when I was applying for a community mental health, and I got the job. That was many years ago when I was when I graduated from my master program, and I pretty much told the director that I got this. You don't have to worry about this. I'll apply this to myself, and you just need to sign the document. And she believed me on that, and it was true that they do sign the documents, and that's good enough. Back then, it was a little bit easier than the atmosphere today. But I think when you are able to say with confidence, it helps.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing that, it is very complicated process of understand the visa process for ourselves first, right? So we are going through like CPT and OPT and H-1B or later than the green card. And it will be helpful for kind of ourselves to understand, like educate ourselves to understand the process and how long does it take in detail about each process. And that helps us to promote or kind of ask for some specific kind of help or support as needed, and within time frame, and before like H-1B would be expired or something like that for the green card process. So and also consult with someone who has gone through or international sections. We have IPPC. Or we have some meeting, IMOC meeting during the APA convention each year, I believe. So this year in DC, we're going to have a meeting. So keep asking their questions or clarify their situations about visa sponsorship or process will be very helpful, I guess, yeah.
Yes, and this year in D.C. we're going to have a lawyer doing a presentation with me.
Sure.
So we would
that's
like to invite you to come.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you, Chan Chong.
Sure.
Okay, so the last question I have, and how do we negotiate salary for staff positions, and what should our expectations be, or would our international background affect our salaries? And anyone want to start?
Okay, I'll chime in. Elena usually gives very thoughtful feedback, so I'm just going to give brief ones here. So the international background, would that affect our salary? My experience and what I saw from others is that no, it doesn't affect your salary. It depends on the agency. My experience, it has no effect on. You're not going to be paid less in this or more. That's not going to happen. But how do you negotiate for staff position? Like I mentioned before, you need to know what in the area, what a psychologist or staff were in that agency. And so from there, you could negotiate what you need. But again, if you're fresh out of the program, you may not have big room to negotiate, but there are definitely some room for negotiation. So I feel like you should negotiate. From our center, we have 5 interns every year, and they do negotiate because we encourage them to go ahead and negotiate. And they're when the result comes back, there's big range of how they negotiate. Last year they all negotiate something. The year before they all have something. that they negotiated. And the range could be from 1,000 to 5,000, so it depends how they negotiate in that process in terms of salary. And then there are also other benefits, such as paying for EPPP license, etc.
Or moving expenses or other benefits.
Yeah, the moving, great point. Moving expenses, that's something that you should negotiate. So if you have, like last year we have an intern that they pay for pretty, they just give her a check of, I think it's 5,000, and then for her to move, so she could use it however she used. Or in my case, back then it was they paid for the transportation, so they hired the mover to move everything from my grad school home and then to Florida here, and they just cover everything for that. But that's the benefit that were given from the school for me at the time. And if you don't have that, ask for it. Sometimes they could generate that support for you.
Sure. Yeah. Elena, you want to add anything about it?
The reason why I'm a little thoughtful is I personally, when I was going through this process, I didn't, maybe it's also more my personality, but I didn't necessarily feel very confident to negotiate. I think that I negotiated more around issues of getting enough supervision to get licensed, but that really wasn't an issue. And I negotiated about having or using some professional development time towards preparing for the EPPP so that I could, take some time to study. I didn't negotiate around salary too much. I actually asked if there is any room to negotiate, and the responses that I got were that the salary ranges are set by the HR department or the university, and there wasn't as much of wiggle room, especially coming in as entry level position, meaning right after graduation. But that being said, I was happy with the offer that was given to me, and I was, excited about the job. So I didn't feel, I didn't feel that I missed out on anything, or
right.
I did actually have an experience that was kind of interesting because at that time I was applying at other positions, and I had, when I received one of my offers, I was interviewing, had a phone interview and had been invited for an in-person interview at another site, and I called them to ask them where they were in the process, and I told them that I had another offer because I was trying to decide, should I wait to interview with them or not. So the director that I spoke to at that time, he basically asked me, how much are they offering you? And I was honest about it. And he said, well, we won't be able to match that. So, they actually encouraged me to accept the position that was given to me, which was also kind of validating. Maybe that's also why. But it, I think, was... Yeah, another example of, I think, maybe having more leverage to negotiate if you have another offer.
Well, that's a great point. Having a leverage, that's a good way to make negotiations. Elena, I had similar experience like yours, almost exactly the same. The leverage, it didn't help at all. And the center left, my director at the time was saying that, well, okay, we could bump up for another 1,000 for you, but that would make some staff may not feel good about it because their salary is pretty low, and you come in with as a new professional, and that may create some uncomfortableness among the staff. Is that something that you're willing to go through So I was like, gosh, that like guilt tripped me for this. And so I wasn't successful in that process at all. The only thing that I negotiated was the travel fund. She did offer a little bit more travel fund compared to other people for me to attend another conference. And so I was happy with that. But what happened was that 4 or 5 years ago, I learned from Barry Chung, who at the time was sharing his experiences as the director, as the chair of the department. And guess what? The speech that my former director gave me was exactly what they learned as the director. So now knowing that, I would say that go ahead, negotiate the heck of it. And as long as you're not rigid about it, there's no bad consequence at the end. I mean, the worst is, okay, you couldn't do it. All right, I'll accept it, and that's it. But it doesn't hurt to make a request.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Elena and Chanchong made a very good point, and yeah, I'd like to highlight it. Don't be shy. For the negotiation, you never know about the consequences of it. So, I mean, it's totally different from case by case in different institutions. And some, especially postdoc, is a little bit set based upon the budget, or it's almost set. It's the negotiation things can only for maybe professional development or money or time or so those supervision hours or those kind of qualitative or things or about like training. For the step positions, it's more about like salary, but some institutions or state institutions is set by the state or government or the education board, or there is a set of the salary or level, or some institutions or centers are handling their own budget in their center. So based upon their budget, I think situations or HR influence the negotiation process. So it's all different. I guess so. There is varies. So but don't be shy around it. Just ask for it, and if kind of you didn't get it, that's okay. I can say
right.
Yeah. That is the bottom line. So yeah, I think that we are close to 10 o'clock right now. So I mean close to the time, and so I really appreciate Chanchong and Elena for your time and for your wisdom and your time for today. And I'd like to ask you for the last words for this meeting to the participant or audience.
Oh, last word. Go ahead, Elena.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you, Ji-Yoon, for organizing this. I was involved with organizing a webinar like that last year, and I know how much work goes in behind the scenes to put this together. So I really appreciate you doing all of that.
Yeah, I echo that. I had the luxury of just coming in and share my own experiences, and there's a lot of work behind the scenes. So thank you, Ji-Yoon, for doing all the late work.
Yeah, I mean, thank you all of your time. I really appreciate your commitment to the meeting today. And yeah, I haven't seen any questions so far, throughout my email, and I believe that Facebook too. So if I would get any questions, and I will reply that to anyone who are interested in